Hey TNLC, I wanted to take some time to share with you some of the thoughts that we are having as a leadership team about the next steps forward for Trinity New Life Church. Now, a lot of the things you're going to hear today, we're going to be going into some details, into some next steps that the church is planning on taking when it comes to some of the spiritual focus and the way that we're thinking about physical gatherings over the next coming period of time. Starting on May 31st, we begin a brand new sermon series called The Way Forward. Now, in what we're going to be doing during this series is looking at the path that the Israelite people took in leaving Egypt to go into the Promised Land. I mean, you want to talk about people setting up a new normal of what it's like to leave something behind, be in a period of waiting, and then go into a new thing that God has called them to. I don't know that there's a better example than the people of Israel. And so as God was continually showing them the way that they were going to be moving forward, I want to spend some time sharing with you the way that we believe that God is calling us to move forward as TNLC. First of all, on that May 31st, you're going to see brand new service times. Every service time is changing. So you're going to have now a 9 a.m. service, a 10:15 New Life Kids event online, an 11 a.m. service, and a 7 p.m. service. 9 a.m. service, 10:15 New Life Kids, 11 a.m. service, and a 7 p.m. service. All of these are still going to be pre-recorded services to be able to provide the best content, the most like in-person content for you. But here's some of the things changing. Right now, Florida is in phase 1. I'm recording this on Monday the 18th, so depending upon when you watch this, I don't think anything's going to change from the time that we record this to the time that you watch this. But Florida is now in phase 1. One of the things that they are encouraging, or at least allowing, are social gatherings of up to 10 people. And so we would like to encourage anyone who feels comfortable or has already been doing it to get together with groups of 2 or 3 families or around 10 people to have what we are calling family gatherings. Now, you don't have to be related to everybody that you're doing this with, but again, 2 to 3 families, around 10 people who get together on Sunday mornings to watch, worship, take communion, New Life Kids or not New Life Kids, all of that together at the same location. Now, if you're interested, again, this is going to start on May 31st. If you're interested in hosting a family gathering, even if you don't know, listening to this video, you don't know who that's going to be with, you don't know if you're doing 9, 11, or 7, or any of that kind of stuff. If you are interested in hosting a family gathering, there is a link either below in this video or attached to the email, however you're watching this, that we would love for you to fill out so that we can start knowing where it is to be able to help, encourage, and we've got something extra for those who are going to be hosting those family gatherings. So, just as a reminder, please fill out the interest form. We're not asking you to tell us all the details or have it figured out before you do. We just want to know if you're interested in it. But that's where we are in terms of where Florida is allowed 10 people, 6 feet in distance. Now, when Florida goes to a phase 2, soon after that, we will take a step 2 for Trinity New Life Church. Now, we know that home watching will continue. That's what you're doing right now, watching it on your own at your house. We assume that family gatherings will continue because even if the state opens up to a new phase or the church takes a next step in what it's encouraging, that doesn't mean that all of you are going to do that all at the same time, and we totally understand that. We're trying to be able to create environments that meet everyone where they are, giving people who feel like they need to stay home permission and quality of a service to be able to do that, and people who feel comfortable gathering in smaller groups or in larger groups, permission to be able to do that and to create great experiences for them as well. So when Florida goes to phase 2, then the church soon after that, I'm not going to lock into a day. If he announces it on a Friday, we're not going to go to it on a Sunday. Then we will very soon after that move to a step 2. And so again, home watching will continue. Family gatherings will continue. But now we'd like to then encourage people to get together in what we're calling watch parties. Watch parties are groups of at least 20 who are getting together, again, in person, 20 including your kids, to watch the service, take communion, sing, worship, etc., all that stuff together. Now, again, this can be at 9, this can be at 11, or this can be at 7 p.m. If you're interested, again, we can't ask you to commit to anything right now, but if you are interested in finding out about, oh, I'd love to host a watch party when we're able to, my house can hold that many people, I know a clubhouse, a place of business, an office, whatever it would be, I know where I can get between 20 and 50 people together in a safe distance. I know the people I would be reaching out to. We would also love to know that. There is a separate form that we'd love for you to figure out. Again, you can't commit to anything right now, but we'd love to know ahead of time. There's some more detailed stuff involved in that. And so some of the things that we have behind the scenes that we'd love to be able to interact with you on, but because we don't know when it's going to be, we don't know how far out in the future, it's not important to put all of those details into this video right now. So again, Florida goes to phase 2, very soon after, we go to step 2, which is the introduction of watch parties, groups of 50 to 100, but we totally understand people are still going to be watching at home or in their smaller family gatherings. And then phase 3. When Florida goes to phase 3, this is the first time that the 6 feet of social distancing is supposed to be relaxed. Again, I'm basing this off of the 35-page PDF that Florida released of their steps to reopen. See, when it comes to the percentages of people we can get into the service or into the building, and you're hearing things like restaurants are at 25% or 50% or maybe even up to 75%, so can't we do the same thing? What you need to see is that the regulations in phase 1 and phase 2 still require the stipulation of people staying 6 feet apart from each other. Now, at the very, very beginning of this, I said we were able to still have our March 22nd services because, or 15th or 22nd, well, whatever our last one was, I think it was the 15th, because our building was small, so we could never have a crowd that large. Well, now it's not the size of the crowd, but the distance between the crowd that people are staying together in. That's where our building presents a bit of a problem. Even before the COVID-19, not controversy, but milieu that we find ourselves in, our lobby would get very crowded. Our services could get packed or have to open up overflow seating. So it's not about a percentages for us, but being able to keep people 6 feet apart. And when that finally is reduced, then we can look to have services back in the building with live worship, live preaching. Before that, we don't feel like it's worth it. If you talk about gathering 50 people together to be able to put on music, production, staffing, and just opening the doors and so everybody can't do everything, you're already talking about somewhere between 25 and 30 people, and they'd have to be here for every service. Now you're talking about having to really rotate through 20 to 25 people on a weekly basis, which means everybody's coming to church probably once a month. And again, if you heard my message last weekend, I think if we're fighting for something that's so significantly different, I think we have to re-examine what we're really building our faith on. So we're encouraging, again, people can get together, but in a different environment, one that they're feeling comfortable with, when they can build up those muscles of getting up, getting your kids ready, and going to different places. But again, when Florida enters phase 3, then the church is ready to go to a step 3 soon after that, when we can start having 100 people in the building when the 6 foot distancing is relaxed. And then at some point in time, there will come a step 4 for TNLC, where there can be more people, New Life Kids returns, etc., etc. That's so far, that's so distant, I don't even know about chronologically, but it's just so distant from where we are and what we know of. There's really no point in speculating about much of that. So that's where we find ourselves. I believe God has given us a very clear word of what He wants to teach us and what He wants to challenge us in our next season. He wants to show us the way forward to the promised land that He's called us into. But I also believe that He is showing us and our leadership team the steps that He wants us to take to move forward into, I hate even saying reopening TNLC because we're talking about reopening services. This wouldn't be an issue if TNLC had actually closed. But you know that TNLC hasn't closed. You've stayed worshiping. You've stayed reaching out. You've stayed connected. You've stayed on all these kind of interaction with each other. TNLC never closed. Sunday services closed. TNLC doesn't close when Sunday services close. If it does, we need to shut the whole thing down anyways and rebuild the church from the ground up because we built it wrong and we were building on personalities and events rather than on the gospel, discipleship, and transformation. But these are the steps that we're taking to move forward and to begin gathering together in different sizes, in different speeds, where you are, where you're comfortable, and where you'd like to be able to move forward. We're in phase 1 right now as a state, so we want to take step 1 as a church and starting to encourage family gatherings, 2 to 3 families, somewhere around 10 people. Florida goes to phase 2. The church soon after takes step 2, watch parties of between 20 and 50 people. When Florida goes to phase 3, the church hopefully follows soon after with our step 3 of creating services with 100 or more people after 6 feet distancing is relaxed. Now again, if you're interested in all and figuring out, I'd love to be able to maybe host a family gathering or whenever a watch party comes up, I'd love to know more about that. Please fill out the forms now so we can have that information and start communication with you over the next few days as we begin towards our May 31st launch of the way forward, the way that God's calling us, the way we're moving. And I believe this will be one of the most important. You guys know I don't talk in this hyperbole for every sermon series. I believe this can be one of the most significant things God does in our midst if we will open up our eyes, open up our word, open up our hearts, and be willing to leave Egypt for the promised land. If you have any questions or any clarification, not sure what to do with the forms or anything, you can always email info@trinitynewlife.com, but click the links, again, whether they're in the comments of the video, whether they're in the email that you're watching this. But I love you guys and cannot wait to begin moving forward with you.